Alrighty. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the House of Holocrons, episode 28. This week was anticipation because sadly, I don't know if there was much else unless you're really into comics like I am. The Bad Batch episode wraps stuff up, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. There are a good few announcements, mostly just on the comic side, sadly, though. Whereas we do now have that a huge crossover is coming between mainline Star Wars, Dr. Aphra, the Darth Vader run, and the Bounty Hunters run. So, no idea what that could be. A commenter on my short actually brought up the amazing point: what if this is Thrawn and Ezra, and they don't actually show them in Ahsoka first? They show them in this crazy crossover villain event. That'd be awesome. It doesn't match up timeline wise, really, but that would be so cool if a shadow of Thrawn just shows up.
Well, it still technically could happen because
Mm-hmm.
we didn't actually see Thrawn die for sure.
Yeah.
He just kind of vanished. We just assumed he died. So he could still exist. And his species, I believe they live about the same long as humans, so he'll be pretty old, but.
And then we really had really a great comic drop with the Yoda one. We got to see a young Dooku and a young Yoda training a Trandoshan and Wookiee youngling. That's gonna be a really fun little storyline. Full breakdowns, of course, for these comics will be on the channel. But then let's grab into a bit of the batch, and then after that, we will go over a few more speculations and things for the big premiere in 4 days of Mandalorian Season 3. The big thing we're all waiting for. I guess first off, though, a question. Mike, are you watching Mando first or Bad Batch first?
I mean, I don't know. I'll be excited for both.
Yeah.
Part of me would rather get the Bad Batch out of the way, so.
That's exactly what me and Jess said. Yeah, we were like, I'd rather just watch Bad Batch, so because no matter what happens, then at least I have Mando. Not saying that it's been bad, just I know the premiere of Mando, I feel like it's really gonna blow some seats.
It's one of the most anticipated season for Star Wars since, Mandalorian season 2. Not that the other seasons were as bad, but it's
I'll say
the
I think
most popular.
the only other thing that might even come close would be Clone Wars season 7, maybe, just because there was that nice long break in between all that. But yeah, this has brought in so many new fans. Mandalorian's going to be a huge one. But this week's Bad Batch finally wrapped up a lot of things. We finally they tracked down the what is it called, the Marauder. We found out it was stolen by a kid. Yeah,
episode.
and this had a very Clone Wars vibe to it because it was such a short but isolated story, happened within 2 episodes. Yeah, the ship was stolen by a young kid, who took it back to a mining facility to trade in to his slumlord boss, of course, to try and be the top earner.
Very stereotypical vibes.
Yeah.
With a lot of filming. I mean, it's the stereotypical orphan ran work facility.
Mm-hmm.
The boss, especially as the old British child labor guy vibe to him. He even has the cane to go along with it, and he's kind of large built, and he's got issues, and he's gluttonous, and yeah, it's the whole standard. That was the first thing I saw. I was like, this is just like every other.
Yeah.
You're like your typical old British child labor guy.
This is Oliver Twist. I it was definitely a very okay, bottle-ish episode, just nice and contained. We're gonna get the story finished up. Thankfully, the Gonk droid saves the day because Gonk droids are one of the most important droids in all of Star Wars, and people just don't really know that for some reason.
It's sad because I'm along with the rest of the guys. I totally forgot about the Gonk droid because they did too. Nobody else thought about it. Okay, she sees him as one of the family,
so. Right? And that I love that Gonki was able to be the one who kind of finally all right, I can transmit a signal and get them here. They show up. They through intimidation, they're not really going to do anything to this small kid, but they're like, hey, take us to our ship now. They are then taken back to it, and it is, surprise, surprise, been dismantled for parts. Because on arrival, at least the guy was smart enough. The boss was like, get this thing torn into parts. This thing is hot. Like, this is an upgraded, like, Imperial ship. I don't really want this thing just sitting around.
Yeah, well, he didn't say Imperial, but I'm surprised. That was like my first thought. I'm guessing because they're so far out there, they don't see much Imperial.
That's a good point.
But yeah, well, they definitely haven't because he's kind of remnant of the Techno Union.
Yeah.
What they said. They even have the droids that look similar, even though they're a unique model. I don't think we've seen those before. But the lower half looks reminiscent of several of the droids.
Of course, carrying shock batons because you don't want to be shooting blasters off in an Ipsium mind. And then, but they find, I see the confrontation doesn't really start right away. I thought for a minute there they were going to be able to fully just kind of like dip in, get the shit back, and leave. But
we get to learn about the kid,
right,
and the significance
his
of that.
background,
I
his
believe the whole
whys.
point of the episode was that he had a kind of similar mindset to Omega, where he was stuck in the mindset that there's no other way out of this, like thinking this is my home and nothing's gonna change. Omega is starting to grasp the idea that her home may not be what she thought it was, and my home could be constantly changing, and home is where where your family is, where
Where
you're
your
at
blaster
currently.
hangs.
It isn't necessarily your actual home. And he's on the other end where he thinks he was as bad as she was, where he thinks this is his home. There's, I mean, I it's hard to understand because to our perspective when we see it, it almost seems just like a city. So it's just like another city, or like a state. There's other states out there, but to him, he's on the whole planet is basically his existence, and there's not much left besides that mining facility. So his entire well-being, his existence and everything, is on that planet as basically a child laborer. So you can kind of, if you think of it in that perspective, you can understand why. And he's also a kid, so
yeah, and that's one of the bigger parts too. Is then when you finally kind of see like what they're even rationed later on, like it's almost nothing. He gives them literally almost nothing. And Omega sees that because they send Omega with the kid to try and steal the launch codes and get everything they need to get the ship out, while Tech and the boys sit back and fix the ship. But yeah, we see him like scarfing down all this food, just gross. And as much as I've seen a lot of like gluttonous things on like medieval movies, Sheriff of Nottingham, fun things like that, or like the tomato scene from Lord of the Rings that so many people hate. But this dude was going to town on some food. And then we see him later literally like share a bowl of what looks like broth amongst the other kids. And they all have to fight over it.
It reminded me how in Andor, how the Empire controlled the prisoners, because they also controlled by food. If you lowest earner, you either got killed or tortured. I don't remember. And then the highest earners get food with taste. But felt like the Empire treated their guys better because he made them share an entire bowl of watered down powder, essentially.
Right, exactly. Just like some weird protein powder, probably, so they don't immediately die from dehydration and starvation. But it's one of those things too, where it's like, hey, you don't have anywhere else to go, you don't have anything else to do, so you're not like indentured servants, but you can't do anything else or go anywhere because you don't have any money.
Yeah, and there's no way off.
Yeah,
and there's no way they could fight off the droids, and he doesn't really have to because he's kind of dangling that carrot in such a way that that's their only goal. They only focus on getting food, and they only see one way to get that food.
Right, and they what is it? The Ipsium, is reportedly not even that clean. So like they're not really making that much money, which is why they don't ever get that much. Because he's suffering with them. He takes care of his workers, as he always tries to tell them. I was confused
when he was saying that because I was like, that's the whole reason the Bad Batch went there is because the Ipsium is worth a lot of money.
And then of course through Omega and this young boy poking around like they always do, Omega finds out this dude's been lying about everything. He's making money hand over fist. He's like rolling in dough and food, and he's just using these children to the utmost degree. Sadly, the boy still sets off a button to betray her while she's revealing all this, because all he's thinking about is becoming that dude's best friend and the top earner. Which
We
that's a
had
good storyline. I like that. That was really good. I kind of called it. Like when I saw him kind of hesitate, I'm like, oh, he's gonna hit a button and sound an alarm. But
yeah,
then
we had to
eventually he'll
have
turn
the
around.
something go wrong. It's the same kind of
Right again,
focus. I
Clone
mean,
Wars. It's the same
majority of
thing.
the filler episodes is
Yeah.
what this basically is it's kind of the same recipe. It's they show up, they start trying to get some money somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Something bad happens. Not a big deal, and then they send Omega out separately or she goes out on her own.
To try and help
She
people.
Something bad happens again,
Yeah.
and then they come and try to rescue the day. Something bad happens again, and then they win in the end.
Yep. This one I feel like had a more fun resolution because I didn't expect him to immediately turn, but we kind of have the big altercation where the Bad Batch boys are on one part of the bridge, Hunter's on another, and they're talking with this leader of this Ipsium mind about like, hey, just give us back our ship, man. We'll leave. Don't worry about it. And of course, he's got Omega now because they captured her after the button was hit, and they're gonna throw her into the Ipsium core or whatever the hell that the magma core or whatever that is, a volcano or something.
The whole lava on the bridge and dangling over the lava, and then also the child labor is
Yeah.
heavy Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom vibes.
Oh yeah, true.
Because a lot of that similar thing happens with the bridge, and then there's some dangling over lava and he's trying to rescue.
I wonder if they kind of had that on their mind because there was like all these recent Indiana Jones figures that just dropped, like the vintage
I mean,
figures and stuff. So maybe everyone's just thinking Indiana Jones lately.
Harrison Ford, yeah. I mean,
Right.
you got so many ties connection to Indiana Jones. It's not even funny.
Right. And they even pull off like kind of an Indiana Jones style saving move in which after there's a
The
fight kind of
grappling
breaks
hook.
out, yeah, the grappling hook, Hunter shoots a grappling hook and swings off of it.
Da-da-da.
Right. Omega perfectly times it, jumps off, brings the droid with her, catches their hand, they do this awesome thing, and then the kids, after finding out what's going on, turn on the leader, trying to fight them off. He literally just falls into
Yeah.
the pit. Whatever. I mean, honestly, now, if you think about it, these kids are very, very rich. If they work this mine together, they're going to have a lot. They already know how to work it. They have all the equipment. They were just given a
Yeah.
valuable mine.
I thought it was also satisfying because I was afraid we weren't going to do that. When they finally knew Omega was safe, they just shot the droids. Like,
Yeah.
because he kept saying, "You can't shoot in here; you're gonna explode us." And they're like, "We don't miss." And
Yeah.
then,
I love that though. Yeah, they just took out the droids and they're like, "Nah, we'll let the kids have you." It's more vicious. It was nice to see, the Marauder got fixed up, it got found, everything's gonna kind of go back. Jess also kind of talked about this, and now hearing you say it though, I didn't really catch it, but it's obviously it was there. The fact that if Omega is really trying to learn or is beginning to be forced to learn that home is not always what you immediately think it is, it's more of the people and the place around you. Yeah, maybe she is actually going to eventually have to leave the batch. Like, either they die or they literally send her off because things get too dangerous or something. And that's how she eventually gets into later material.
It's clearly the Ahsoka treatment, which is fine. Though Ahsoka went through a lot darker places than we've seen with Omega, so
yeah,
I don't know if we'll get a series long enough, and if we don't, and if they do continue this path, there has to be something really bad happening. Honestly, it would be kind of akin to one of the Bad Batch dying, which I don't want to see.
But right. I feel like everyone's of course talking about the fact that Echo is not gonna. No one knows where Echo is. They assume it's death. Maybe they just disappear on another planet and lived out their next 25 years till they died of old age. Who knows? It doesn't have to be that they all died of belated glory.
To like some kind of short series or comic series or something with the adventures of.
Maybe that's the thing. Yeah, it was like Cody and Echo were on their own like desert planet, just walking around hunting stuff and living. And they brought Hauser.
Well, and then Rex, Cody, Echo, Hauser, the their own Bad Batch version 2.
Right, exactly.
Good Batch.
Old batch. If you okay, so in Planet Comic Con, which is the comic convention here in Kansas City, is coming up soon. D. Bradley Baker is going to be here. I'm going to have him sign something. What clone, if I get one, should he sign? Should I get a Rex, a Cody? Should I get like just a normal Phase 1 or Phase 2?
I mean, if you want to do a specific name, I think Rex, just because he grew to become the face of the clones.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. I was like, I was racking my brain on that one.
Yeah, he's pretty much he's. That's thanks to the Clone Wars, really.
I think maybe they will show up again. You know, maybe honestly, like, what if that's the next movie that gets announced? Is Ray leads the Skywalkers into the next era of light side, and they are, instead of C-3PO, it's this really old Echo just leading them along. Because you know, Echo could honestly probably live a little longer than a lot of his other brothers if he's mostly machine.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be that hard to keep him alive and more operational because a lot of his organs are already gone.
Yeah, they're gonna port him into the droid, remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. They're gonna turn him into R5.
Speaking of droids too, I was glossing over the fact that one thing I was gonna say this is the first time I've ever seen really any emotion from gonk droids.
Yeah.
Usually they're just kind of waddling in the background, and we've had the thing, but not this like a much emotion.
I wonder if that comes entirely from not being wiped, because I know that's kind of what they always say with R2 is if you don't wipe a droid, they will eventually just get that like personality.
They're learning.
Yeah, right.
We gotta keep wiping the AI so they don't become smarter than us.
Yeah, they don't start playing it because I mean, and that's happened in Star Wars. That's one of the let's see. I mean, we even have like awesome stories like Mr. Bones, which is so I love Mr. Bones.
Well, we had the past episode where they had the droids that were visiting people. So
yeah, the entire gang of droids. I cannot ever remember the droid's name, but there was an actual droid that tried to lead a full revolt, not like Lando's, but like there was he had his own planet. He had an army. He was going to do everything he could. There's an EU, I think it's expanded universe. I don't think it's canon anymore. Version of IG-88 that actually tries to do the same thing after he is destroyed, but had like a copy of himself. I think some artwork with a bunch of clones. Not the same. It's not the same. It's a good idea. Artwork is bigger and can be like shown off better.
Yeah, I think it would be an awesome comic series. I'd love to see it in a show, but I doubt we'll see a show with the old clones.
Oh yeah.
Because as a reference to the Rex and Echo and Cody, and then we still got to see some of the others that we later see in Rebels, because we do see Rex again in Rebels, and who else do we see again?
It's Wolf, Rex, and Gregor.
Okay, but we don't see Echo.
So. Yeah, we don't see Echo. We don't know where Cody is. We don't know anything about the Bad Batch. Yeah. They didn't exist at Rebels, so it makes sense. But we know that.
I mean, Echo did, but we thought he was dead. So.
Well, yeah. And then I'm trying to think. That's really it. It's gonna go into whatever happens next season. Now that I think they have their shit back, I would not season, next episode. But now that they have the Marauder back, I wouldn't be very surprised at all if they're going back to Sid to kind of ask her like, "Yo, what the hell? Why were you about to just abandon us on this planet and not care at all?"
The next one is Metamorphosis. I don't know if we're gonna have some kind of weird bug-related creatures, or we're gonna have just I don't know. Is the
Metamorphosis is the team having to become their own thing because Sid betrays them.
Well, I'm sure there's a double meaning to it, but a lot of times these have literal meanings.
True. It's got to be something because it is also again it is going up on the same day as Mando episode 1, so I feel like they're gonna need that episode to have a little bit more spice on it.
Either that, or it might not be much at all, just so it doesn't distract from.
True. True. I guess I always think on the glass half full side with Star Wars, just because I can't. I just want it. I've been hurt almost every single time.
I'm thinking of like, the businessmen in the room side where they're like, we can't distract. We messed timing up.
Yeah.
We got to release it. We can't distract from. So we got to make sure that it comes on the day where they line up with it. It's probably one of the more boring episodes.
Right. So then everyone's like, "Oh, that was cool." But anyway, Mando.
It doesn't matter because people that are gonna watch the Bad Batch are gonna watch Mando. So
Yeah.
I mean, it won't. I mean, you're not gonna. That wouldn't be a thing you had to really worry about.
But there are going to be way more people going for Mando because, of course,
Yeah.
Mandalorian really spawned its own kind of cult following. It's crazy how many people got into Star Wars because of Baby Yoda. Before Grogu was Grogu and Din Djarin was becoming Mandalorian, all the internet knew was there's a really cute little fucking green thing.
Yeah, he's because usually in everything big they try to bring out a toy. So he's the Ewok, he's the BB-8, he's the all the toys you're throwing in there.
Oh yeah, he's definitely that. He is a very much like, hey, look at this, it's cute and adorable, and you love it, but it's also very important. At least they gave it that. They're probably going to make him more important, hopefully, in this season. I feel like with the kind of thing we get with him being on his own, floating around in that glass shaft mine thing, and then flashbacks more, of course, to Coruscant. And maybe this will be a bit more of Grogu getting a bit more grown up, using the Force on his own a bit more.
I mean, we already know he's going to get flashbacks, so yeah. But yeah, I'm calling it now. I think with the big rush and the lack of major release right now, if anything, we get The Last of Us, but that's basically mid-season, so it's not the hype's kind of gone down. Not saying the show's bad or not.
Yeah.
I actually haven't started watching it. I'm waiting until most of it comes out, so I only have to pay a month subscription instead of 3 months. So I was waiting until I can watch it in the last month.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm predicting now that the giant influx of people trying to watch it and buy subscriptions, it's going to actually crash the Disney Plus because it's happened before.
Yeah, so. True. Yeah, every time when it comes to Mandalorian, people will renew their free subscription because that's all they really care about for a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't blame them, but there's so much more good Star Wars stuff. The Mandalorian's gonna be amazing. We got even a little bit new art. I think there was like another poster or something that dropped.
Yeah, they dropped. Star Wars will drop a couple on their different social sites. Yeah, and then we got we've gotten some teaser footage, teaser trailers. Most of the trailers we've seen now are all same stuff, kind of recycled.
Did you see the one that had Boba Fett in it? Someone was like, "Look, in this last few little seconds, if you look at the shadows behind Din, that's Boba Fett."
I read about it, but at that point, I'm at this point now. I'm just not gonna look at anything till the show comes out.
That's a very valid and a very good thing to do. I should probably follow in your footsteps and not be looking at anything, especially with it being 4 days until, because someone's already watched it and they're gonna spill the beans.
Well, and also, so at this point, when you get into trailers, sometimes they do bring out all the best parts in the trailers, which I get it. They're supposed to hook people that don't normally watch it, but a lot of times the stuff that's in the trailers are going to be huge scenes in the show, and it's like I'd rather just watch it.
Oh yeah, no, just watching is always preferred.
Up for it, so at this point, I just want to watch it.
Yeah, that's why I've never been a big fan of Next Time On. I've never once ever really sat down and watched that to be like, oh, that happens next. I don't want to know what happens next time. I'll know what happens next time. That's the whole point.
I did back in the old TV days, especially in the old Toonami anime when I was younger, and now as an adult, I immediately turn it off when they try to leak, because they still do that in anime. They still do that. In some shows. So yeah, I don't watch it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like it because it kind of that gives you that sense of anticipation. But I'm already like super curious. I don't need any help.
I don't think we get that with Mando, but we do get the cool artwork and music at the end of
that's always awesome. That is always fun to watch. And that I would love if they would just release. I know they release like art books.
Yeah.
But they need to just do posters. They need to just do big old posters.
Because a lot of it's like storyboard art too. Because it's like if you follow the art, it's like similar to the show, but a lot of it's different because the final presentation is different with It's
Yeah.
not always the exact what they planned on when they did the art. I mean, it still is cool.
Right.
Yeah. Do you? Well, yeah. So now we're talking about Mandalorian. What
Yep.
do you think's gonna happen on that first episode?
Oh, I feel like it's probably gonna be a bit of those scenes with him talking to the armorer about like how the hell do I redeem myself, and then probably end up either on, if that's where she is again, or going to Navarro, talking with Grief Karga about like trying to get help, trying to get his way to Mandalore, and setting all that up. I feel like we'll get to Mandalore probably around like episode 3.
I think that you seeing where we left off last.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna start with him flying in space. First, it's gonna just start with him in space, traveling. I think he's still gonna be because right now he doesn't necessarily have a purpose, just
Mm-hmm.
traveling with Grogu. I think we're gonna get kind of a almost a Bad Batch scenario where he's just trying to make money and find a place.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he's not fully settled in going to Mandalore yet. I think that's going to be kind of pushed on him, probably by the armorer
Okay.
uh, one of the other Mandalorians.
Yeah.
Probably going to like kind of push him that direction. I just I feel at this point in time he doesn't have the full motivation to go to Mandalore yet because
Interesting.
he still hasn't really I don't. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like he still doesn't accept the dark saber. I feel like that's not something, even though he's earned it. I mean, that's the whole. Sometimes that's the idea of the perfect leader, somebody that
Yeah.
doesn't actually want it, but can still be a good leader. You can
Yeah.
tell by it.
The reluctant leader is always a
Yeah.
very good leader. I feel like with Din, he doesn't want the dark saber, but he definitely wants to be a part of the Children of the Watch again. Like that's why he still doesn't take his helmet off whenever he's out and about.
Yeah.
Um, he's still
I
adhering.
I like it. I don't think they have to do it completely,
Yeah.
but I hate shows where they just after the first few parts, I mean, Halo, take his
I knew
helmet
that.
off
Yeah, I was like, you just say
immediately.
it. Just say Halo.
I mean, I don't have to say Halo. I could say any other show. They think the actor's face sells it. No, the
Yeah.
actor's acting sells it. We know the actor's there. We can hear the voice. We can tell the actor. But
Right.
I mean, outside the, I mean, at this point, the audience is smart enough to know that helmet equals protection. Also, if it's a good helmet, it looks cool. He's got a cool helmet.
Oh,
Don't
of all helmets in Star Wars,
don't
he
be
has one of
like
the
Boba
coolest.
Fett where he never wore his helmet. And the Book of Boba Fett, he always walked around without it. I love the actor and everything, but I mean
Mm.
Boba Fett, well, he never took his helmet off prior to that. Why start now?
He's a changed man. He's here for honor. Yeah. I mean, I love it. I love that he's changing. But yeah, I couldn't agree. If you're literally walking around the streets of a town that is filled with gangsters who kind of want you
Yeah,
dead, maybe wear a helmet. If you have a Beskar helmet, put it on.
yeah, that was weird writing to the show, but yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad he's gonna show up.
Mm.
I hope he shows up late in the battle on the back of a Rancor. I don't know how he's gonna get it to Mandalore, but that'd be awesome.
I mean, if it likes him enough, maybe it'll just chill and he'll just pet it on the nose and they'll have a fun trip. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it'll be like 2 episodes of The Mandalorian where it's more of the Book of Boba Fett season 2, 1.5, like they did in Book
Yeah.
of Boba Fett where we got Mandalorian season 2.5.
Well, like I said, I think we're gonna get a few episodes that is going to be kind of more the same,
Mm-hmm.
where he's going to be traveling, kind of the bouncing around. We got kind of like season one vibes, kind of episode to episode, where it's so kind of like what they filler episode, but not really.
Yeah.
Because I think he's gonna have to set it up. I doubt they're gonna delay Mandalore to the end of the season.
Oh, they
I
better
feel like
not.
we're gonna get at least half the season dealing with Mandalore, but yeah, I can't see them. I think they're just gonna do something, to hook everyone in, and then just kind of, lead up to that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could be wrong. They could just throw you in there. I just
See,
feel like,
that's more what I'm thinking. I think that's how they're gonna hook people in. Is this first episode's gonna be like, oh man, Mando's on a mission to get back his honor, and then second mission is like, all right, bro, like he needs a lot of help, and a few familiar faces are gonna show up, and then boom, on Mandalore, things are going nuts, everything's blowing up. There's battles with these other Mandalorians all constantly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're gonna, of course, the whole verse podcast. I'm gonna disagree because, like I said, I feel like he doesn't have the motivation. So
Yeah.
we'll see who's right and who's wrong. That's probably neither of us.
Right, yeah, it's gonna be some nice little middle ground. Whee. But I know, I feel like it's just because I think there's a lot that they show us in these
Yeah.
premieres or these trailers that was literally just panoramic like shots of a background. That's just like a 3 second blip for an episode that could just be filled with so many things. I mean, there could be an entire episode where he's stuck just in the atmosphere of Mandalore and can't even like land because of a storm. Like who knows? They could have okay, and then he has to go land on Concord Dawn, the moon, and we get a little like cool lore where he finds like an old base from the Death Watch.
Well, we got some teaser footage, and I think that might be from episode 1 and 2,
Mm.
which is the where he's talking to the gentleman he spoke with before. Who's
Oh,
now
Grief.
is that the guy who's a kind of a leader now?
Yeah, Grief Karga. Yeah, he was
I think
he was the leader of the not the mercenaries, but the bounty hunters, and then he was
yeah,
a
the
magistrate.
bounty hunter guild.
Yeah, so now he's a magistrate or even higher, a senator or
I
something.
feel like him interacting, he's gonna be kind of Mandalore Sid for what little bit.
Yeah.
Mandalorian Sid.
Yeah.
I feel like that's gonna be because I feel like that tease footage is gonna be one of the first two. I think it's gonna be first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think that's gonna kind of do the whole recurring of what we have already gotten. Because it's so the Mandalorian and Mandalorian both seasons are mostly kind of that, just kind of episode to episode.
Yeah.
And not a big overarching story until kind of the endish.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're gonna continue that and then do the big complete story with Mandalore.
Yeah.
But
So hey, I definitely agree on that. No, I totally agree on that part. They will definitely complete. I think this story will be mostly completed in this season. Maybe not like what happens as he becomes a leader or whoever becomes leader of Mandalore, but there will be a leader of Mandalore, and the Darksaber will be with the who it's going to stay with by the end of this.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, John Favreau said that the full storyline to this he still doesn't know.
Oh yeah, true.
He said that in an interview. So I don't know if we'll see another season. I don't want them to kill the show, but I mean, if they can keep the show going, go for it. But some people are speculating, and there's some. I think I sent you. There's some kind of insider knowledge that isn't, fully vetted.
Mm-hmm.
That they think that Grogu will continue on. Do you think that is true?
Yeah, I actually, I think I need to do some editing on it, but this weekend I have a video coming out where I'm going to really go deep dive into this. But to give it a simple enough answer, I highly believe Grogu, Din Djarin, the Mandalorians, like all of this stuff they're setting up in the show, will be a huge part of what's coming into Star Wars. Because the Mandalorians are going to be able to either be the catalyst for like violence or protection. They could, in one hand, do what they normally have done throughout the EU and other histories and join a Sith or some dark person and try to conquer everything. Or they could work with the New Republic because it's also small and weak and try to like fight off the Hutt cartels and keep the mid and outer rim a bit more contained while the New Republic works on re-establishing order. And if they do good by the Republic, then the Mandalorians can be like, hey, we want our space back. And the Republic will give them back Mandalorian space. They'll have their own empire again.
They only joined the Sith like one time, and that was only a splinter group.
That was twice. Mandalore the
splinter group.
No, Mandalore the Indomitable was with Exar Kun, and then Mandalore the Ultimate went with Revan. Or against Revan.
That was more of a team up.
No, Ila Keldroma beat the shit.
Well, that one, I mean, that's a bit different. And it wasn't really. It was more of they kind of had to because Revan was kind of just wrecking face.
And don't forget SWTOR with the Mandalore the Champion and Mandalore the I can't even remember. There's another time the Sith Empire controlled the Mandalore and Mandalorians to fight on their behalf. 3.
I mean, the Mandalorians at that point were kind of wrecked because
of
war.
Yeah.
There wasn't much of a unified group anymore.
There were no more Tongs. There were
the actual. When we get into SWTOR, there wasn't really a Mandalore at that point.
There was a puppet-ish one. There was the guy all gilded in
the
gold.
one that was supposed to be Mandalorian's traveling with you. But yeah, but there's a lot more. Most of the time they usually do their own thing.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming they're gonna do for a while because we don't see their presence, especially during the sequels.
Yes, exactly. I think in the sequel era, they would be isolated and very working on themselves, building up foundlings, building up armor, building up settlements on the moons and planets.
So, the claim is from insider knowledge that Grogu will team up with Rey. Do you think that's plausible? Do you think that's true? Do you think
yeah,
that's too crazy?
no, I could see that happen, and we could even literally Mark Hamill will probably come back and do a forced ghost Luke talking to Grogu again, like, "Oh, it's been so long. How have you been?" Or honestly, he could be like, "Oh no, me and Grogu talk all the time." Because I don't think Grogu's going to give up on the Force. He's not going to only be able to slightly push and pull people and then mostly be a Mandalorian. He's going to be a Force user of extreme power and ability that does not follow a old code. He has his own creed, the Mandalorian kind of creed to follow. And Rey's going to probably be able to use her new way of thinking of things. They're going to probably meld really well, and I could see them easily teaching and learning.
Grogu would basically be her Obi-Wan at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And she could get like a really good amount of training and teach Grogu all the ancient things from the old texts. Even though he can already force heal, which is supposed to be like super rare. Yeah, whatever. He's Grogu. He's a Mary Sue. He's stupid powerful for the reason of story.
Well, I mean, he's super rare, and they kind of set him up to be like special. So,
but it's like we don't even know if that species is all that powerful, or if it's just somehow everyone we've seen as a Jedi is very, very strong.
I mean, granted, he's like 50 something at this point.
Yeah, he's like 50 something.
He's got the force power of a 50-year-old.
I could definitely see him though. Yeah, by the time that these new sequel movies or this new movie is set,
part of me,
he's gonna probably be like he'll be acting like a young adult or a teenager, a lot like Rey.
The idea of things connecting. It almost feels kind of like the Marvel treatment, where it leads up to the overarching story, like it's
Thrawn
all connecting together. Robo-Thrawn. Part of me is like, I'd like to just see some completely new. The other part of me is tired of going to Walmart or stores and seeing Grogu's face on every.
Yeah, but
literally everywhere.
True, but new Grogu will be so much cooler because he'll be wearing like Beskar armor and like probably won't have a lightsaber. He'll probably be using like a sword and like blasters. Imagine him like doing all those Yoda flips, shooting people with dead-eye precision because he has the Force.
I mean, at that point, you might have the dark saber. At that point.
Oh! I didn't even think of that. He would have the dark saber. He would totally have the dark saber. I don't know if he would be. I mean, he would probably be Mandalore. No one else can. Like, he's a Mandalorian and Force sensitive. What you can't beat Tar Vizsla. You can't beat Grogu.
Yeah, well, I don't think what's his name, Din Djarin will be alive by then. That's
right.
Pretty far in the future, and.
No, I could see Din Djarin have died, and then Grogu took over, and someone challenged him, and he was just like, Force push, get away from me.
That's when Grogu kind of dips into the dark side.
A little, in a sense, maybe. I could see it.
His Mando daddy's death and chokes out somebody and
right
takes over a galaxy for a little bit.
Yeah, he goes on a conquering spree. That would be hilarious if Grogu becomes the villain.
Grogu's the main villain in the.
Oh man, I wish.
Switch to the dark side, and it's like the
movie
leads up, and there's these new enemies and everything, and then at the very end, you just hear, and it's the dark saber.
Yeah,
and you see this like black glow of a green ear, and then it ends the movie.
Oh, that'd be so amazing if Grogu is the new villain leading the army of Mandalorians. I would love that so much. I wish I could rename this episode and like give it a new thumbnail and just says Grogu, new Emperor of Galaxy.
See this like Mandalorian inspired Sith helmet. And you only see like the neck up, so it looks like this big bad guy. You see the darksaber ignite, and then the helmet slowly, the hissing noise comes off.
Yeah.
And ears. It pans out. It's just Grogu
standing on top of something, so he looks really tall. But still, it'd be ominous. I mean, he would like Ray's just sitting there, like being paralyzed by the Force, like almost Force choked, just like, and he just pans over and he's just
I mean, having
standing on
that
a
much
box.
connection to the Force, he's gonna have to be tempted at some point, especially if he's
already
he's not
Force choked somebody. He almost
hanging
killed Cara
around,
Dune.
guys, Jedi that practice the light side, so he's not properly guiding. He's kind of at this point going to be finding his own way.
And again, being taught as a Mandalorian, he's going to understand entirely. Sometimes you have to kill to get what's necessary. You have to take out the bad guys, or just do a dirty job. Just get things done. It's a dirty galaxy. Do what you got to do. Yeah, he could very noticing. Yeah, he could very easily become a big bad for the Star Wars universe, and that would be so cool.
Or they put him in like this mech suit, so like the bad guy is this large man, and it opens up and Grogu's in the chest.
You think he'll talk like Yoda or Yaddle?
I think if they do things realistically, I think he'll talk normally because he's around people that do.
True, very true.
Usually, like in our world, you have children that have grown from a different country, growing up, and they have the accent.
Yeah.
And they speak the language of the people they grew up with.
Very true. He will speak
sense
Mandoa, and so here's my thing. I was lucky enough to actually go ahead and I was able to purchase the full open seasons comics. You know, the ones that talk about Jango Fett being a foundling and getting his armor, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I finally got all 4 issues. Got them off of eBay. Only $90, but I couldn't help it. I had to get them. But the main reason I also wanted to do that is if Boba is there, and since we are getting so much hopeful Mandalorian lore, Mando lore, maybe they'll mention like Jaster Muriel or the new Mandalorians, or the old Death Watch and the Vizslas that ran Death Watch back in those days, because that'd be so cool if they like mention that. Which then the main reason I also made sure to buy the comic now is if they do mention any of that stuff, those comics are going to like septuple in price, so I didn't want to have to pay $300 for them later in the day.
Going with what they have been doing, I feel like they're gonna name drop, but I don't feel like it's gonna go much further than that.
Yeah,
it's basically we've been kind of getting lately. It's like Disney just like, hey, we don't want to build on the older stuff that's already been done. We want new stuff, but then John Farvo and some of the others will be like, Disney doesn't know what this means, and they'll drop a couple names in there. We made it up. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. And it would make
this Star Wars: The Old Republic made canon
in one episode, brief sentence. Dark side Bastila confirmed.
I see him call it into Kathleen Kennedy's office.
Yeah.
And yelled at.
I told you no more Darth Revan. He's so cool. He's so cool though.
I feel like it's her call. I feel like that's Disney's call.
Yeah, I guess. And again, I'm not against it. Like, if you're gonna just ruin it, don't touch it. If you don't know what you're gonna do with it, if you're not gonna already have a great plan, well thought out, just don't touch it. You could base things in the Old Republic because there's hundreds of years around Darth Revan that are the same exact shit. Sith and Jedi all over the place fighting.
I'd love to see the setting again, but yeah, I feel like the stuff that's predetermined, I think, should be referenced, but not talked about.
Yeah,
because there's no way, and we've spoken about this before. The entire point of the game is the point. Everybody has their own view of what happened. Everybody had their own view of who Revan was. That was the whole point of the game,
right?
So to define Revan as a male. A lot of people view Revan should have been a female, and vice versa.
Yeah.
That itself would upset people. Revan being good would upset people. Some people want the evil line, and vice versa, because everybody had their own view.
Yeah. I mean, people were already upset enough just with what SWTOR did, where it made Revan a man and it made Mitra
Yeah.
Surik a female. Like they tried to kind of slightly canonize that stuff, and that alone had people kind of up in a tizzy about like, hey, that's not what I played.
Well, yeah. Up until then,
Why are
the
they both white?
understanding. Well, up until then, the understanding the default Revan was female.
Mm-hmm.
But it left it ambiguous because it was up to the player. And
Yeah.
but if it had to be, it was female. Revan was female.
Well, yeah, I remember that because in KOTOR 2, that's the first thing Atten Rand says to you. It's because he's talking to you. He's like, "Oh yeah, you never can trust these Sith lords. I mean, Revan, I heard she took down the whole galaxy because of a lost lover or something." And then your character can literally say, "Oh yeah, she was crazy and a murdering Sith," or "What do you mean that was a dude?" And that's how you can like set it up. But yeah, it's canonically for a while there, it was a girl.
But yeah, but they tried to be mostly ambiguous with it because, like I said, it was really up to the player.
Mm-hmm.
For,
Which that
for
was the whole point. It's an RPG. It's a role playing game, and you are supposed to create the role and the person you want to be. That's why I want. Okay, guys, Hogwarts Legacy came out, and it's all divisive and things. But you know what's not? Star Wars. You know what you could make? A Star Wars Jedi Academy or Sith Academy game that's like the exact same thing. Just make it Star Wars. That would be awesome. Jedi Survivor's coming out soon, of course, so video games are going to be a big thing.
I think the setting of it, honestly, I doubt they would do that. The setting that I think would be perfect, which would be probably late High Republic,
Mm-hmm.
either late or mid High Republic, or even early, because there'd be a lot of exploration.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where you would get a lot more story out of it. One, you get a lot more Sith, a lot more Jedi, and if you're gonna play a saber game, and
Mm-hmm.
also going through Academy, it would be perfect.
Right.
And then also the aspect of exploring the planets. Once you become the Jedi, was going to be a big chunk of the game.
Yeah.
I think that would be the perfect setting for that type, and I think it would.
And imagine you explore a certain part of the Outer Rim and eventually find Sith space, and you're like, oh no, this is Ziost, an ancient Sith planet that was now long abandoned and destroyed, and you have to like land there because there's an SOS. There's so many cool things that could happen. If I really need to get a VR headset before too long because the like Adventures of Galaxy Edge game that is so fun, and then there's
the footage looks good. The VR doesn't really work with how my eyes work, so I don't ever get to really experience it.
That sucks.
Ways other people, but
yeah,
it looks cool.
There's the Vader's Castle one, which explains how Mustafar became a lava planet and it was originally a lush green planet. That was so. There is so much cool lore that is not in Disney Plus media that I swear if some of you Mayweather, or I should say Fairweather, Disney Plus fans and Star Wars fans would just listen to a few audiobooks, read a few comics. There's so much extra stuff out there for things that just nobody for some reason wants to talk about. So many things. So many good things. Don't get it. I actually got my last short got some nice hate comments, so I feel like I'm really making it as a YouTube creator now. Someone insulted my hairline. I was like, there we go. Now I'm making it. I just kept talking to him because like, no, dude, every comment you give me just helps. So I'll keep going. I was like, you're gonna insult my hairline, dude? You think I don't know? I'm rocking the skullet. I got this. Let's go. I'm gonna open a comic book shop in a Springfield. I don't know which one it was. Was it? Did they ever say where the Simpsons were supposed to actually be from?
Yeah, they did. I don't remember.
Yeah, who cares?
Honestly, I haven't really seen much of it because I wasn't allowed to watch it growing up.
Really? Oh, dude, yeah, the Simpsons are.
I got to watch. It's funny, I couldn't watch that, but I could watch King of the Hill.
Oh yeah.
My parents liked it, so if they liked it, I could watch it. They didn't like The Simpsons. Watch other stuff, but not Simpsons or South. I can understand South Park.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how South Park still gets away with it as long as they have.
I mean, they've been around for so long. They're at this point untouchable.
So. Right? Yeah, they're the most untouchable, uncensored thing that's ever on television. Always. But like I feel like a lot of things have become more uncensored, and everything's kind of okay with it. So maybe that'll kind of happen with Star Wars, and we'll get a bit more of an uncensored, violent, crazy, mental thriller. I could see that happening with, to mention it in every episode, The Acolyte. That could be the good beginning of darkness and things becoming.
I think we need a Star Wars comedy.
Mm-hmm. That'd be awesome.
An R comedy.
Ooh.
Like kind of Deadpool style, like.
So Hondo.
Yeah, he's too good for the cartoon.
Dude, Hondo would that'd be hilarious if Hondo's just going around just murking people on a job. Because he was a pirate. He wasn't nice. He was funny. He was Hondo Onaka.
I think like an R-rated comedy character, like a movie, just like a one-off would be awesome. Mm-hmm. They sell well. They always do well.
Yeah. They always do so good. Rogue One did amazing. Solo.
No,
people love it.
The concept, the character concept.
Yes, that is true. One-offs are a little iffy sometimes in the Star Wars universe, but they just need to be well written. Solo was good.
And Rogue One actually weren't that bad.
The thing is, when it sucks. I hate this about the Star Wars community is the fact that things will be amazing, really awesome, good shows, and then people will just hate it for like the first year almost that it's out, and then when you go back and watch it again, you're like, oh, it actually wasn't that bad. It really was. Why did everyone complain so much about this?
I liked Rogue One whenever it came out. I was wondering why people didn't really like it. It's
because Rogue One is so good. Rogue One is so
pretty good too.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Rogue One was better personally.
Yeah.
I think Solo was good. And Force Awakens I thought was good.
Mm-hmm.
That one had good. That one kind of went the reverse. It started good, and I think a lot of people started hating it soon after. Which reinforced by the sequels following it. But yeah, and we haven't really gotten much movie because they started switching the shows, and I think they kind of are like afraid to drop a movie at this point.
Right, treading back in the water slowly.
It's the investors. It's like trying to convince them to put that much money into a movie after, they did get their sales for it, but after like the initial showings, it really hurt.
Which is just sadly that's just the way of things when it comes to entertainment and media in general today. Like the pandemic killed movie theaters. A lot of people like they're back to a degree. They're not like dying horribly. I hope they never die. I love movie theaters, but it's just like after the pandemic and all this stuff going on financially with the world, it's just movie theaters are such a luxury. Now, I know if you canceled all your subscriptions, you could go to the movies every other weekend, no problem. But they've tied so many things into subscriptions now. You have to have a subscription to something if you're going to watch anything.
And the series are kind of the hot thing right now because, why watch a 2-hour movie where I can get roughly 10 hours more in depth and detail?
Yeah.
And once every week. Whereas, like, the movie... Or some people, if you got Netflix, they'll drop the series all at once. You just binge watch it the entire day, and you end up doing it. Don't lie.
But always
with the movie, and I don't know. It's weird because lately, a lot of new movies, it feels like I don't know if it's like kind of maybe happened before them, but it feels like COVID might have reinforced it. But after like post COVID, it's like all the movies kind of suck. Be honest with you.
And well, because a lot of the ones that are coming out now are the ones that were filmed during it. So like no one could actually be around each other. Actors didn't get to really communicate with each other unless they were on set right that second in front of each other. It was probably a huge kill for anyone in the industry because it's just not the same. I mean, it was weird. It was such a weird time. I'm so happy that it's gotten to a more regulated point.
I would follow along with these movies and be almost a movie buff in my opinion because I would stay current and watch everything, and now I haven't really watched hardly any new movies. And it feels
well. And what's been like? I don't even think what's the last thing that's a movie that has been like I need to watch that. I honestly could not tell you. My wife would probably say Avatar, the second one. The waterbenders.
I still haven't watched it.
Me either. I don't care
I
about
was kind of
Avatar.
wanting to watch it. I mean, me personally, I wasn't a big fan of the first one.
Me either. It's just
Um,
Dances with Wolves.
well, it's that or Pocahontas or the same storyline rewritten,
And now they just have
and
all these new tribes, and it's just now Avatar: The Last
it was
Airbender in space.
it was flashy in the screen and people loved it
Yeah, it was
because
beautiful.
it was looked great. And then the second one did the exact same thing where it looked great but had a shitty story, and people didn't buy it the second time.
Right.
So,
Well, and I feel like that's
um,
happening a lot more now. Like everyone knows, hey, go to Rotten Tomatoes. What's the critic score? No one cares. Critic scores are shit. What's the actual like viewer score?
yeah, the Rotten Tomato critic scores have never been true. I mean,
Then again, like everything is subjective. Of course, there are so many things that I absolutely hate that other people love. A lot of people that I know in the Star Wars community, especially on TikTok, say that like I wouldn't say a lot, but a percentage of them definitely say that their favorite Star Wars movie is The Last Jedi, and I'm like, that's fun for you. And they always want to hit me with the, you just don't understand what happened with Luke. I'm like, no, I get it. I just don't like it. It's just not the Luke Skywalker I wanted, and it really was like, ugh, to me. And I felt like it could have been done differently and still had the same story where Ben Solo was still his thing. Like they could have, or just maybe had they talked more about Luke losing his mind a little bit around like being Luke freaking Skywalker and why this fear of Ben following in his father's footsteps and failing. Like there's again, comic books have it.
Yeah, the thing that ruins me is they set so much up and then they just didn't follow through with it. Because
the second he threw that lightsaber over his shoulder, his father's lightsaber, I couldn't. I just couldn't.
The Force Awakens set so much good stuff up that they could have followed through with it. They didn't. It kind of fell apart in the second one. And when you get to the last one, we're so worried about trying to recover, saving the fan base that they tried to, feed the fan base what they wanted too much. It gave you a bunch of Luke Skywalker, but messed that up. And yeah, it was just I felt like it was a big hole. Let's appease the fans at least. And by doing so, they didn't.
And that's why I'm excited that Daisy Ridley and all of these will be coming back. They deserve a well-structured, well-written, well-directed, continuous storyline. They deserve that movie in Star Wars because the characters
referencing the movies before.
Yeah, the characters are amazing. And the actors were brilliant. They need sustenance, and they will give you gold. That's all these actors need, and they're already living in the world. They know Star Wars now. They know they're a part of Star Wars. Can we please also can Captain Phasma just not be dead, please? That was still to this day the one that really irked me when it came to deaths.
I'll be surprised if John Boyega returns for this one. He should, but
he's actually flip flopped. It's weird. He's gone back and forth a few times.
Disney did him so dirty.
They 100%.
Posters, a lot of merchandise. They cut him out of being a Jedi.
Right. Which we all know that's what he... 100%. Yes. 100%. He was supposed to be raised like right-hand man, gonna learn everything with her.
Went to the side. He went to basically nothing.
Yeah, he just became he became like the other discount Han Solo next to Poe Dameron. That's it. What? That's so rude. The dude was such an amazing character. Imagine First Order Trooper using like how else did he break his indoctrination? It makes sense that he had the Force or a connection to the Force, and he just couldn't handle all this death around him. It woke him up.
The first movie rose all these main characters up. The second movie felt like it tore them all down except for Rey.
Yeah.
If literally they got rid of Finn, they got rid of Poe, and made them both look like terrible people.
Yeah.
And then we get to the third movie, and then
And then it's like Rose even. They're like, Rose comes in, who could have been another great role, but they're like, oh no, this is just Finn's kind of love interest. Yeah.
And he never pays attention.
Yeah, the unrequited love. And it's like, shut up.
It's okay, best buddy.
Yeah.
Move on. Which then a lot of people were hoping there would be a love interest between him and Poe, which that never actually did anything. It just was like, hey, this could be a potential thing, but we'll never touch on it ever again.
Right, but it's like they're not
that
going
was
to
the
make him a
constant
Jedi.
thing.
Right, they won't make him a Jedi, but they won't even give the guy a love. They won't even give him a partner.
They set so much up in the first movie. It's like, hey, this could be a possible continue. This could be a possible continue thing, but we never touch on it ever again.
Yeah. I know this book right here, Shadows of the Sith, does a very good job of talking more about Luke Skywalker into his transition into sequel Luke, where he is trying to train all of these young Jedi. He's so terrified of failing because the entire Jedi Order rests on his shoulders. Again, there's when other people took the story and wrote around it, it's amazing. It's brilliant. It's great stuff. It's just that General 3 movies just needed way more TLC, and that's why I'm super excited for the next generation or the next saga of Star Wars. And I'm happy the Jedi are dead. I mean, that means really the Sithari, the chosen one, the bringer of balance, has done that. What better way to balance the Force than to destroy the Jedi and destroy the Sith? Get rid of both of these super dogmatic views and return.
I doubt they'll ever do is, I mean, you could call it the Jedi. I'd like to see the return of, a group of Force users, kind of like the Jedi, but completely restructured differently. I'd like to see, the tenets different. The idea of what Jedis are different. I think that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it'd be great stuff, and that's definitely enough to fill up a lot of movies and a lot of merchandise. You imagine you change the Jedi Order symbol and you change the name. So now every backpack, every bookmark, every sticker that everyone's ever had, it's nice and it's now antique, but it's not the new thing. So if you're a current Star Wars fan, you're going to go out, you're going to buy this brand new logo with this brand new emblem and this brand new name.
I mean, there's two things that sell Star Wars merchandise. There's the cute character, and then there's the iconic bad guys. That's what they really need for sure, is the iconic bad guys.
Yes. The next bad guy needs to be, again, the video I'll be putting out this weekend will probably go over a lot of that. So check that out. It'll be this, it's like a state of the affairs, but with Star Wars. Because, the bad person who comes next, and it doesn't have to be a Force user, but this bad person needs to be so evil that you hate him. And just so bad. It doesn't need to be redeemed.
New.
Yeah.
I want something new. I don't want to see stormtroopers or variant of or droids. I feel like we didn't get enough droids in the movies, which is fine. I feel like we've gotten like the word to droid to stormtrooper ratio. The stormtrooper is way higher, but I still don't want to see droids again.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the goofy, chaff that we saw in episode 2 and 3. It's so weird. I still think it's so weird that in episode 1, the droids are normal droids, and they give them these like goofy personalities in episode 2.
Yeah.
Be comedy relief. I want to see, a new iconic bad guy. Something different.
Yeah, and they have all of unexplored, no space, whatever they want to call it, to go to. There's so much out there.
It could be the sci-fi. You could do anything.
You could literally bring in a new enemy that's new, that's not new at all. It could be the Chiss Ascendancy.
I still like the idea of using Vong, where it's like it like messes everything up because it's the Force no longer really works anymore. Like, what do we do?
Yeah. I just that is some dark shit.
Yeah,
that is some dark shit.
Organic enemies that Force works differently on them, or
I feel like something's gonna have to eventually happen though with the Chiss Ascendancy, because like they've been kind of hinted around through the Thrawn books and stuff, but never really touched on. So I could also see maybe he totally just manhandled Ezra and took him to the Chiss Ascendancy and like made Ezra his probably through that much time could mentally convert him and be like, no, I'm not, because Thrawn is not a guy who's like, I like to murder and mutilate. He's like, no, I just want to bring order, and I'm very, very good at it. And when you give me orders, I get them done.
He definitely, I don't think will be the bad guy. I don't think I'd have to see how the years line up.
Oh yeah.
I think he'd be probably too old, unless he's like giving a Darth Vader treatment.
Right. And who knows? Again, like you said, I do believe Chiss don't live to be super
They're,
older than humans. It's just very
well,
common.
they're basically the same equivalent of a human, like
Mm-hmm.
biologically. Um, so they typically live roughly around the same time, unless things have been rewritten.
Yeah.
But to my understanding, they're essentially just almost humans that
But
but
they've also been
biologically.
introducing. It could be something entirely brand new because they've also already introduced so many new species into Star Wars. So it wouldn't be too much of a stretch for them to throw in another species.
Yeah, I mean, I I would like this new movies to come out. I would like to see. Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. They're about roughly 80 years, so roughly the same as a human.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, he'd be
I
pretty old.
I would like to see some old stuff, mostly like like to connect it to Star Wars enough, and then the rest just all new. It's
Mm,
all new bad guys. That's one thing I loved about Snoke, because he was a new mysterious bad guy.
right.
He was new. He kind of reminded you of Sidious in a way. How he just mysteriously, just doing the hologram images, but
Right.
he was this mysterious. Who was he? How did he become power? How come we've never heard of this powerful Sith before?
And we didn't mind that the the First Order troopers looked exactly like stormtroopers because it was the first time they redid it.
Yeah, and
Now we
it
can't do it
looked
again. Yeah, I do not want to see white armored soldiers again. Oh my gosh.
well. They did look unique enough to be
Mm-hmm.
like they were their own thing, and the design was actually pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like Star Wars was progressing for once. Sometimes Star Wars looks like it's either reverting or staying the same. So it was nice to see that there was some evolution in Star Wars. But yeah, yeah, we got the white armored soldiers. Let's get something different.
I can agree with that. I am totally here for something new and refreshing in the future of Star Wars. With all the upcoming shows, Mandalorian, of course, in the next 4 days, everybody. Ahsoka will soon be following. Skeleton Crew, maybe. Acolyte, hopefully at the end of this year.
Yeah, next episode we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
A lot. So, thank you so much for joining us as we rambled and just had a fun time chatting about the general affair of Star Wars and the future of it as we see right now. Next week's episode will be a doozy, and we will be able to talk about all the things we guessed completely and utterly wrong. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode of the House of Holocrons podcast. Again, make sure to go over to the normal channel, look at those videos if you want any comic reviews, figure reviews, and I'll definitely be talking about more in depth what I believe could be happening with the future of Star Wars with Rey and Din and all that. Have an amazing rest of your day. And as always, may the Force serve you well.